course, we're joined now by Justin Lynch, who is the Managing Director of Conflict Insights Group and co-author of Sudan's Unfinished Democracy. He joins us from Nairobi. Thanks so much for being with us here on Al Jazeera, Justin. First of all, I understand that you're in direct contact with people on the ground there. What exactly are they telling you about what is happening in and around Fasher right now? Because there is huge concerns as people try to flee.
Sure. I was just speaking with some humanitarian workers just now, and they were saying that there are a lot of civilians who are still trapped in Fasher and who cannot leave Fasher. What we had expected to see is many people fleeing to Tooele, which is where many international humanitarian organizations can provide assistance. We're just not seeing that in the numbers that we had expected. What we are seeing is a lot of children who are arriving with families who they don't know, and children who are arriving alone. And I think that the message from the international community to the rapid support forces should really be three words: let people leave. The RSF is not allowing people to leave Fasher. They're not allowing people to leave villages around Fasher, and the rapid support forces are really trapping people in the city and around Fasher. And the message needs to be very clear from Hemeti and from the allies of the RSF as well.
Yeah, when it comes to that, we've heard the United States is urging the RSF to enter negotiations. What chance of that happening at this point, do you think?
I was speaking with State Department officials recently. I think there's very little chance of that happening. There were negotiations that were happening last weekend, and there was a lot of hope, that there was going to be a 3-month humanitarian ceasefire. And it was going to be the first time since Sudan's war started in April 2023. And it was this moment of hope. And unfortunately, this has turned to this moment of obviously heartbreak and a massacre. And I think that one of the reasons why is because both sides think that they can win, right? This of course is a war between two sides, the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces. Both sides think they can win. This is a very complex war, and just stopping the external backers won't stop the war immediately, but it's a first step, and that is one of the steps that will, I think, lower the killings that we're seeing now and in the future. And we're seeing continued support from the allies of the rapid support forces, especially the UAE.
Yeah, you talk about external forces and backers. I want to highlight one line from the US State Department release. They said the US will continue working with partners to find a peaceful path forward. That obviously involves the UAE, who's accused of backing the RSF, which they have denied repeatedly. I mean, what sort of pressure do you think that the United States can bring to bear on the UAE?
Well, there's a difference between what they could do and what they should do, right? And what they're willing to do. I think that, since the Biden administration and even with the Trump administration, there have been officials inside the State Department who are working on Sudan, who have advocated for much tougher actions against the UAE because the evidence and the information is overwhelming. Our organization has tracked since April of this year 105 suspicious flights into the city of Kufra that is used as a waypoint for weapons supplies. Typically, these flights we're doing more research on. And this is one of many supply lines that we believe that the rapid support forces are receiving. And I think that the challenge for the Western governments, from the USA to the UK to Europe, is that, major politicians, ministers of state, secretaries of state, Sudan is not as high up on the agenda as it is other crises. And I think we're seeing the consequences of that, right? We're seeing ethnic cleansing. We're seeing the situation in Fasher. And we have to accept the responsibility that, this is the consequence of Sudan not being as high up on the agenda.
It's flown under the radar, as you mentioned. You're talking there a little bit about the weapons flows, and I understand and know that is something that you keep a very close eye on. Can you just run us through exactly where you think the RSF is getting most of its arms for right now?
Sure. So at the beginning of the war, I led a report funded by the State Department that concluded with near certainty that the UAE was facilitating weapons to the RSF via an airport in Chad. There were, of course, many routes that the RSF was receiving weapons from. But after this report, and also other reporting from the New York Times, from Reuters, from the Washington Post came out in October, the UAE really changed their facilitation routes. And now what we believe is that they're using a route in Kufra in southern Libya. This used to be a town that was known mostly as a migration hub. Now you see an overwhelming number of flights from Aleutian 76s from the same plane network that used to be used in this city in Chad. They've now moved to Libya. This is a plane network that the Emiratis have used historically across the continent to facilitate weapons. And so these flights have continued even over the past couple of days. And so I think that any pressure that the U.S. is putting on the UAE, unfortunately, isn't working. And this is one of the challenges that the U.S. and European governments have. Okay,
Justin, we'll have to leave it there, but fantastic, fascinating to get your thoughts. As always, we really do appreciate your insight. Justin Lynch for us there out of Nairobi.
Don't miss out, get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.